There is a clock ticking, and you don't even hear it. A countdown has already begun, and it does not wait for your permission. Every second that slips away is a step closer, closer to a death you don't even know is written into your story. I am Archangel Michael, and I am not here to comfort you tonight. I am here to warn you, because the shadow that follows you has a number, and that number is running out. The question is not if, the question is when, and worse, you will never see it coming. The air around you feels ordinary, but it is not. Every breath you take is borrowed time. Every step you walk is already recorded. And every heartbeat is one beat closer to an ending you have not been told about. Listen carefully. There is a death written with your name on it. Not a rumor, not a fear, but a truth sealed in silence, waiting in shadows. You wake up each morning thinking tomorrow is guaranteed. But I tell you this, tomorrow is a luxury, not a promise. There is a clock above your head, unseen, unheard, counting down every second of your life. And when that clock strikes its final moment, everything you know, everything you are, will collapse into silence. But here is what makes it even more terrifying. You don't know whose death the countdown belongs to. Is it yours? Or is it someone you love? Is it the hand you hold every day? The voice that whispers your name? The eyes that look at you with trust? Or is it the stranger you will meet tonight, tomorrow, or a week from now? Someone destined to cross your path only once, to change everything. You see, fate is not loud. It whispers, it hides, it waits. And while you live distracted, fate quietly rearranges every detail of your life, moving you closer to that one moment you cannot escape. Even now, while you are listening to me, the countdown has not stopped. The clock is ticking. Somewhere in your story, the shadow of death has already taken its position, closer than your own shadow, and it watches, it waits, it breathes behind you, knowing the exact second it will strike. There is something you must understand. Death does not arrive as a guest you invite. It comes unannounced, like a storm that breaks in the middle of a calm night. It does not knock, it takes. And yet, before it comes, the signs are already placed all around you. Look closer at your life. The sudden silence in a crowded room, the cold breeze brushing against your skin when no window is open, the dream that wakes you at 3 a.m., leaving you breathless, heart racing, without reason. These are not accidents. They are warnings, shadows breaking through the veil, trying to speak to you before the final hour. But here is the cruelest truth. You will not know whose hour is being announced. It may be your own. It may be the person you cannot live without. or it may be someone's death that will pull the ground from under you, unraveling your entire existence in ways you cannot yet imagine. I want you to picture this: a room you know well, your home. The walls, the pictures, the memories, they all stand in silence, but in one corner, unseen to your eyes, stands the shadow, watching, counting, waiting for the last breath that will soon echo in that room. Every second that passes brings you closer to that moment. The clock ticks, but it does not tick in sound. It ticks in silence, in invisible numbers that only the heavens can see. And when the final number fades, it will be too late to beg, too late to change, too late to hold on. Do you feel that weight in your chest right now, that shiver across your skin, that sudden stillness in the air around you? It is not your imagination. It is the shadow leaning closer, whispering without words, "The countdown is not waiting for you." And I, Michael, have been sent to speak these words, not to scare you, but to awaken you. Because when the truth is finally revealed, it will not be a gentle revelation. It will be a collapse, a fall, a moment where everything you thought was certain breaks into dust. You believe the countdown is random, that death is only an accident, a tragedy, a misfortune of time. But what if I told you it is not? What if I told you that every death has been written into existence long before the first breath was taken? The moment you entered this world, a shadow was born with you. Not a shadow of light, but a shadow of silence. It walks with you everywhere. It smiles when you smile. It cries when you cry. But unlike you, it does not wonder about tomorrow, because it already knows your ending. You do not see it, but it never leaves you. It is patient. It waits for the command. And when heaven releases the order, that shadow will move, and nothing in creation will stop it. This is why the countdown exists. It is not chaos, it is order. Every life has its page. Every page has its final line, and every line ends in silence. But here lies the mystery you were not meant to know. Sometimes the countdown does not belong to you. It belongs to another, yet still it changes your story forever. The death of one soul can bend the timeline of another. The fall of one life can birth the awakening of another. And sometimes your destiny is written not in your survival, but in your loss. That is why the shadow follows not just you, but everyone you love. It hovers in rooms where laughter lives. It lingers in places where you feel safest. It listens to your prayers, your cries, your secrets, because it already knows which prayer will never be answered, which voice will one day fall silent. Do you understand what this means? The countdown is not just about the end of life. It is about the breaking of your heart, the test of your soul, the storm that will either destroy you or transform you into someone you do not yet recognize. And the most terrifying part, even as I speak, even as you listen, that shadow is moving closer. Step by step, breath by breath, second by second. You think you are safe right now,
But safety is an illusion, because the countdown has never paused. And soon you will discover that the one death you don't know about is already woven into your path. It is waiting in the near distance, hidden behind a door you have not yet opened. And when that door swings wide, you will not be able to close it again. But hear me, this is only the beginning, for there is a reason this secret was hidden from you, and the truth behind it is darker than death itself.
Do you know why you were never told the time of your death? Why heaven sealed this knowledge away, keeping it beyond your reach? It is not because the truth is too difficult. It is because the truth would destroy you. If you knew the exact moment every breath before it would turn to poison, you would not live. You would wait. Every joy would sour. Every dream would rot. Every heartbeat would become a step toward dread. So, heaven, in its mercy, closed that door. You were given days without knowing which was your last. You were given love without knowing which embrace would be the final one. You were given time without knowing its price. But what you do not understand is that this ignorance comes at a cost. Because while you walk blind, the countdown does not stop. It ticks in silence. It ticks in shadows. And one day, when you least expect it, it strikes. Think of the last person you lost. Did you see it coming? Did you know that their smile that day was their last? Did you sense the weight of the silence that followed them home? No, because the truth was hidden. It always is. And yet, there are moments when the veil slips. A strange dream, a sudden chill, an unshakable fear pressing against your spirit, a whisper in the silence of night telling you something is about to change. These are not coincidences. They're glimpses, small cracks in the wall heaven has built around you. But let me tell you something darker still. Not everyone is blind. There are souls who feel the countdown more sharply than others. They see patterns. They sense the shadow before it arrives. They carry a heaviness inside them, as if part of them already knows, already waits, already grieves for something not yet lost. Perhaps you are one of them. Perhaps you have felt it already. That uneasy stirring, that unexplainable dread, that voice in your spirit that tells you time is running out. And if you have felt it, then hear me carefully. It is not madness, it is not fear, it is a warning. Because the death you do not know about is already written, and the shadow is already walking in your direction. Closer, closer, closer. You believe death is only an ending, that when the final breath escapes, all is gone. But I tell you this truth, not all deaths are endings, some deaths are beginnings. The mortal eye sees only the silence of the body, but the heavens see what happens beyond that silence. For some souls, death is the collapse of everything they are, but for others, it is the moment their true story begins. Do you understand? The countdown is not always a thief. Sometimes it is a doorway, a passage that transforms not only the soul that departs, but also the souls who remain behind. Think carefully of your own life. There are moments when someone's death shattered you, but later that same loss forced you to rise, to grow, to change in ways you never imagined. That pain became the fire that reshaped your destiny. That shadow became the storm that awakened your strength. This is no accident. This is design. The countdown, terrifying as it is, has two faces. One face shows despair, collapse, sorrow. The other face hides renewal, transformation, rebirth. And you, standing here, listening to me, are caught between them both. But why am I, Michael, revealing this to you now? Why tear open the veil and speak of a secret heaven has kept hidden from you? Because your story is reaching a threshold. The countdown tied to your life, or the life of someone bound to you, is nearing its final stretch. You are closer than you realize. And what happens when that number falls to 0 will not only shake your world, it will shift the course of your destiny. The death you do not know about is not random. It has purpose. It has weight. It has been written not just as an end, but as the moment that will test the very fabric of your soul. Do you think you are ready for it? No, no one ever is. That is why the shadow does not announce itself. That is why the countdown hides in silence. If you knew what was coming, you would run, you would hide, you would collapse before the moment even arrived. But you must not. Because when the shadow steps forward, you will face either your breaking or your awakening. And the reason I speak now is this: the countdown is not far away anymore. The silence is closing in. The shadow is closer than your breath. And when the moment strikes, you will remember these words. You will remember that Michael told you, not every death is an end. Some are the beginnings heaven has prepared to awaken what still sleeps inside you. But there is something more terrifying still. The countdown does not belong only to heaven. There are forces in the dark who tamper with it, who twist it, who want to use death not for destiny, but for destruction.
You thought the countdown belonged only to heaven, that only light and order commanded the ticking clock. But that is not the whole truth. There are forces beyond your sight, forces that hunger for chaos, that crave despair, that whisper into the silence of death and bend it to their will. Understand this: not every death you see around you was written by heaven. Some deaths are twisted, some countdowns are corrupted. And when that happens, destiny is not fulfilled, it is stolen. There are dark powers that move like shadows beneath shadows. They watch your timeline, waiting for weakness, waiting for fear, waiting for the smallest crack in your soul. And when they find it, they tamper with the thread of your life. They push what was meant for tomorrow into today. They pull what was meant for later into now. They make the countdown fall too soon. This is why you sometimes look at the world and ask, why? Why did this one die too young? Why did that one never get the chance to finish their story? Why was the flame extinguished before it ever truly burned? The answer is not always fate. Sometimes it is interference. The enemy of light knows this. If he can twist a death, he can twist a destiny. He can break families before they are complete. He can silence voices meant to change the world. He can cause wounds that bleed through generations. But hear me, he does not have unlimited power. He cannot simply take. He waits for doors to open, doors opened by fear, by hatred, by despair, by choices that lead you away from the path you were meant to walk. When those doors open, the dark ones move in, and the countdown shifts, faster, sharper, deadlier. And you feel it, don't you? That unease in your chest, that feeling that something is being rushed toward you, that dread that life is moving too quickly, too violently, toward an ending you never asked for. Yes, that is not always heaven's design. Sometimes it is the shadow's hand pushing the clock forward. But listen to me. The reason I speak this warning is because heaven is not blind. Light sees what darkness tries to steal. And if you listen, if you stay awake, if you open your eyes, you can sense when the countdown is being tampered with. You can feel when something unnatural is pressing against your life. And when you feel it, you must not ignore it. For ignorance is the enemy's victory. But awareness is the weapon heaven places in your hands. Even now, as you hear these words, you may wonder, is my countdown mine? Or has it already been touched? You will not know the full answer, not yet. But I tell you this, the shadow moves closest when you are weakest, and right now, it is nearer than you think. But the darkest truth is yet to come, because the countdown you fear may not be theirs or yours, but one that binds you both together, in a death that will change more than one destiny.
There is a secret few understand, a truth so heavy that even the strongest souls tremble when they sense it. Not every countdown belongs to one person alone. Some countdowns are shared. 2 lives, 3 lives, sometimes even entire families tied together by a single moment, a single breath, a single silence that will fall across them all at once. Do you know why this happens? Because destiny is not only personal, it is woven. Your life is not an isolated thread. It is part of a vast tapestry. And when one thread is cut, others unravel with it. This is why some deaths strike harder than thunder, not because of the one who is gone, but because of the lives bound to them, pulled into the storm their absence leaves behind. Sometimes the countdown is not yours, yet it feels like it is, because when that soul departs, something in you dies too, a piece of your laughter, a part of your spirit, a dream you thought was yours forever. The light in your eyes dims, not because your time has ended, but because their ending tore away a part of you that you cannot replace. But there are darker bonds still. There are times when 2 souls share the same countdown, when fate writes their names on the same line, when the shadow waits for them together. You call it coincidence when lovers perish side by side. You call it tragedy when families are taken in one stroke. But I tell you, it is no accident. It is a shared destiny, a single countdown written for more than one life. And sometimes it is even more mysterious, a death that seems to take only one, but in truth destroys two, because the one left behind cannot survive the emptiness. They keep breathing, yes, but their soul has stopped. Their will is shattered. They are the living dead, haunted not by their own shadow, but by the shadow that took their other half. Tell me, have you felt this fear? The fear that if one person left your world, your entire existence would collapse? That is the bond of a shared countdown. It whispers in your spirit because somewhere in the design of fate, your destinies are not separate. You rise together, and one day you may fall together. And here lies the most terrifying part. You do not know if the countdown you sense belongs to you or to them. You do not know if the shadow is coming for your breath or for theirs. You only know this: when it strikes, it will strike you both, either in body or in soul. But there is one last greater danger you must hear, because sometimes the countdown is not just for a person. Sometimes it is for a place, a moment, an entire chapter of your life that will vanish in one breath.
You think the countdown waits only for lives, but there is something you do not yet understand. Sometimes the countdown does not belong to a person. Sometimes it belongs to a place, a moment, a chapter of your life that will vanish in silence, as if it never existed. Have you ever walked into a room that once held laughter, and now it holds only dust? Have you ever stood in a place where your soul once felt alive, only to feel a heaviness that tells you that time has ended there? That is the countdown of a place. It is the death of a chapter. It is the closing of a door you can never open again. You see, life is not only measured in breaths, it is measured in seasons, and every season has its own clock. The friendships you thought would last forever, some are already under countdown. The home you feel safe in, one day it too will belong to memory. The days that feel ordinary now, soon you will look back and realize they were the last of their kind. This is why nostalgia burns so deep, because your soul remembers the countdowns that ended long ago. Your childhood streets, the voice of someone who once called your name, the feeling of a time when you were different, when you were someone else. All of it gone. Not because you chose it, but because the countdown of that chapter had run out. And yet, here is the hidden truth. These deaths of chapters are not lesser than the death of a body. They carve you, they shape you, they push you into paths you never planned to walk. And just like with a person, you rarely see the ending until it is already gone. Think of your own life right now. Look closely. There is something around you, a place, a relationship, a routine that is already under countdown. You do not see the numbers, but they are there. And when the last one falls, you will turn around and realize that moment of your life has died, and nothing you do will bring it back. The death you do not know about is not always a breath. Sometimes it is the vanishing of a world you thought you could hold forever. And when it disappears, you will feel that same silence, that same collapse, that same shadow, standing where once there was light. You wonder now, if the countdown is hidden, if the shadow is silent, then how could you ever sense it? And yet, your soul already knows. You may not recognize it, but you have felt the signs. Dreams. Have you noticed how sometimes you dream of someone you love, but in the dream they are walking away? Or you try to call out to them, but your voice does not reach? Or you see them standing in the distance, fading like smoke? These are not just dreams, they are whispers, echoes of the countdown brushing against your spirit, preparing you for what you do not yet understand. Instinct. There are moments when you feel a heaviness in your chest for no reason, a sudden sadness, an unexplainable dread. You look at someone, and for a split second, something in you whispers, "Hold them tighter. You may not have much time." You dismiss it as emotion, as fear, but it is not. It is your soul brushing against the invisible numbers. Déjà vu. That strange sensation that you have lived this moment before. Do you know why it happens? Because sometimes your soul has already glimpsed the timeline ahead. It has already seen the moment when the countdown strikes, and when you touch something connected to it, you feel that eerie familiarity. Your spirit remembers what your mind is not allowed to see. Warnings. You call them coincidences, the sudden urge to call someone, and then finding out later you missed your last chance. The voice inside telling you not to go, not to stay, not to wait. The chill that runs through your body when nothing around you has changed. These are not random. They are alarms, whispers of heaven trying to awaken you before the silence falls. But here is the tragedy. You ignore them. You silence them. You bury them under distractions, under noise, under denial. You tell yourself, "I am overthinking. It's nothing. Everything is fine." And in that denial, you walk blindly while the countdown ticks faster. But your spirit never lies. It feels what your eyes cannot see. It hears what your ears cannot detect. And if you learn to listen, to truly listen, you will realize that the death you do not know about has been speaking to you all along. Right now, as you sit here listening, think back. The dream you shrugged off, the instinct you ignored, the moment you felt fear for no reason. Were those accidents, or were they warnings you chose not to understand? The truth is simple, yet terrifying. Your soul always knows before you do. It always feels the shadow's breath before it arrives. It always senses the countdown's end before the clock strikes its final second. And if you stop, if you breathe, if you dare to listen, you will feel it now.
The question burns in your heart. What happens when the countdown reaches its final second? What does the soul see, feel, and know in that moment when breath slips away, when the shadow finally steps forward? I will tell you, and I will tell you slowly, because this is the part no one speaks of. In the final moments, the world does not end with thunder. It ends in silence.
a strange, unnatural silence that enters the room. Birds stop singing. The air feels heavy. Time itself seems to pause, as if creation is holding its breath. For the one whose countdown has ended, the body feels both distant and fragile. The heart slows, the hands grow cold, the breath becomes shallow. But the soul begins to wake. It starts as a trembling in the chest, a pulling like a thread being drawn out of fabric. At first, fear clings to them because they do not understand what is happening. But then comes the light. The soul begins to see what the eyes cannot. Shapes, figures, faces of those long gone, some familiar, some unknown. They stand at the edge, waiting, silent, watching. In those last seconds, memory floods in like a storm. The first cry as a child, the warmth of a mother's hand, the laughter of friends, the mistakes, the regrets, the moments of love. All of it returns, flashing like lightning across the mind, because the soul cannot leave carrying the weight of forgetfulness. It must see what it was, what it lived, what it became. And then the sound, not of earth, but of eternity, a hum, a vibration, deep and endless, pulling the soul upward. Some describe it as music, others as silence so profound it feels alive. It is the sound of the veil opening. Do you know what the last second feels like? It is not pain, it is not darkness, it is surrender. A loosening, as though invisible hands are gently releasing you from chains you never knew you wore. And then the breath stops. The body collapses into silence. But the soul does not. The soul steps forward. It looks down and sees the shell it once inhabited. It sees the tears of those around. It sees the silence it has left behind. And in that instant, it knows the countdown is over.
When the soul steps across the threshold, it does not step into nothingness. It steps into unveiling, into a realm where the unseen becomes visible and the eternal begins to take shape. The first moments are disorienting. The body is gone, yet the soul feels more alive than ever. It feels weightless, yet full, silent, yet surrounded by sound that does not come from air, but from the fabric of eternity itself. And then the presence arrives. Sometimes it is a loved one, long departed, standing with arms open. Sometimes it is a figure, radiant with light, a messenger sent to guide. And sometimes it is me. I, Michael, or one of my brothers, standing at the threshold to lead the soul into its next path. In that moment, the fear that clung to the dying fades, because the soul begins to understand it was never alone. Not in life, not in death, not now, not ever. But the crossing is not only comfort, it is revelation, for the soul begins to see its life laid bare before it, not with shame, not with pride, but with truth. Every word spoken, every act done in secret, every moment of love, every moment of cruelty. They are not forgotten, they are living echoes that rise up to meet the soul.
and heaven weighs them, not with scales of gold, but with the balance of intention. What was given, what was withheld, what was broken, what was healed. The soul sees itself clearly, stripped of excuses, stripped of lies. It faces not punishment, but understanding. For in that clarity, it finally knows who it truly became. Some souls tremble under the weight of this vision. They see the lives they wounded, the chances they wasted, the love they refused to give. Others shine like fire in the night, radiant with the beauty of sacrifice, kindness, courage. Every soul is shown its reflection in truth. And yet the journey does not end there. For once the life has been seen, the soul is led onward, into the place that matches what it has become. Some rise into light, into peace, into the embrace of the eternal. Some linger in shadows, heavy with what they still carry, unable to rise until they release what chains them. And some wander, searching, waiting, unready to step into either light or silence. But hear this, not one soul is forgotten, not one is lost in the void. Every soul is met, every soul is seen, every soul is weighed. The countdown ends the breath, but it begins the unveiling. And in that unveiling, no mask remains. You are what you truly are, and eternity reflects it back to you.
You may think that when the countdown ends, the bond between the living and the departed is severed, but that is not true. Death does not erase connection, it transforms it. The ties that were woven in love, in pain, in memory, remain like invisible threads stretching between worlds. When a soul crosses, it does not forget the living it leaves behind. It looks back. It listens. It feels the echo of every tear, every whisper, every prayer spoken into the silence. For grief is not only felt by the living, it reaches the departed, like ripples in water traveling into eternity. Some of you cry into pillows at night, whispering names that no longer answer. Do you think those cries vanish into the air? They do not. They rise, they reach, and the soul hears. Love that was pure, love that was real, still binds the soul to you. They lean close in moments you cannot see. They brush against your thoughts. They appear in your dreams. It is not imagination, it is visitation. For even in death, the thread of love is unbreakable. But there are other bonds too, bonds not born of love, but of wounds, unforgiveness, regret, unspoken words. These too echo across the veil. The soul feels them, heavy as chains. Sometimes it delays their peace. Sometimes it lingers near, unable to move forward until what was broken is released. That is why grief is not just mourning, it is participation. The way you carry memory, the way you forgive, the way you release affects not only your heart, but the soul beyond the veil. There are moments when you feel their presence suddenly, for no reason, walking in the street, sitting in silence, hearing a song. It is because the bond still lives. The soul remembers, the soul reaches, and your spirit feels it. Some of you still talk to the departed. You speak into the quiet as if they sit beside you. And though your ears hear nothing, your words are not unanswered. For in the eternal, communication is not bound to sound, it is bound to truth, and truth always travels. But I warn you, do not cling to the departed as if you could drag them back. They cannot return. The countdown does not run backwards, and to bind them with desperate longing is to chain both yourself and them. Release them in love. Release them in trust. For then the bond becomes not a chain, but a bridge across which peace, comfort, and quiet visitation may pass. So understand this. Death is not the end of relationship. It is the reshaping of it. And the way you grieve, the way you remember, the way you let go, shapes not only your healing, but the journey of the one who has crossed.
You ask, why does death come so suddenly? Why does it strike in moments unguarded, in lives that seemed unfinished, in stories that feel torn apart too soon? Some whisper, it is unfair. Some cry, it is cruel. And some rage at the heavens, demanding to know, why now? Why this way? Why this one? I tell you, I, Michael, have stood at countless thresholds. I have drawn my sword between light and shadow, and I have seen the final moments of kings and beggars, saints and sinners, children and elders alike. And still, one truth never changes. The timing of death may appear senseless to the living, but in eternity, nothing is without weight. You see only the thread of the moment. Heaven sees the weaving of the whole tapestry. When a death feels sudden, it is because the countdown was hidden. It was never marked on your calendars, never whispered in your ears. For if you had known, you would have lived in dread instead of life. And so the number is kept in silence until it strikes. When a death feels unfair, it is because you measure life only by length, but eternity measures it by depth. Some lives burn like candles, slow and steady, lasting long years. Others burn like torches, bright and fierce, their flame gone too soon, yet leaving behind a fire that ignites countless others. And when a death feels cruel, understand this. Cruelty is of earth, not of heaven. Heaven does not take with malice. Heaven does not destroy with spite. The ways of departure may be harsh in the eyes of flesh, but in the eyes of eternity they are passageways, whether gentle or violent, that still lead to unveiling. There are times when a soul's journey is complete, though the living cannot see it. The task finished, the purpose fulfilled, the story written, though the final page feels ripped out of your hands. You cry, but they were not ready, and yet eternity whispers, but their chapter was closed. And still, there are deaths that shake the world, deaths that seem to silence laughter too soon, deaths that rob children of parents, parents of children. These are the hardest to accept, for the wound they leave behind is deep. But even here, the countdown was not without design, for the grief that follows becomes seed. It awakens love in those who never spoke it. It binds families who once drifted apart. It humbles the proud, it stirs the sleeping, it pushes the living to value each breath. What you call cruelty may sometimes be mercy you cannot yet see. Do not mistake me. Your pain is real, and heaven does not dismiss it. When you weep, heaven bends near. When you rage, heaven listens. When you break, heaven does not abandon. But even as you grieve, know this: the countdown ends exactly when it is meant to. Not a moment too soon, not a moment too late. The number is exact. The purpose, though hidden, is certain. For in the eternal design, no life ends by accident, and no death escapes meaning.
You believe that death always arrives like a thief, sudden, unseen, without warning. But the truth is, many times the soul knows. The body may be unaware, the mind may deny it, but deep within, the spirit feels the countdown nearing its final strikes. There are signs, subtle, quiet, yet unmistakable if you learn to see. Have you noticed how some, before they pass, suddenly speak with a strange calmness, as if a burden has lifted, as if a weight has been released? They smile when nothing seems funny. They stare at corners of the room as if seeing someone you cannot. They whisper names of the departed as though a reunion has already begun. These are not hallucinations. These are glimpses, souls standing at the edge of two worlds, seeing both at once. There are those who, days before their final breath, begin to withdraw. They no longer cling to possessions, no longer hunger for noise, no longer care for arguments or trivial things. It is as if they are slowly loosening their grip on the earth, finger by finger, preparing for release. And then there are the final words, words spoken at the threshold, often strange, sometimes poetic, always weighted with mystery. A child may whisper, "The light is calling me." An elder may murmur, "They are waiting." A young one may smile through tears, saying, "Do you hear the music?" And though the living dismiss it as imagination, the truth is this: the soul is already hearing what you cannot, seeing what you are blind to, feeling the eternal hand reaching. Some resist. They feel the nearness of the end and fight it with every breath, clinging to life with desperate strength. Their fear, their love, their unfinished story makes them struggle against the countdown. And yet when the number strikes 0, even resistance cannot hold them. The release comes sudden and unstoppable. Others embrace. They feel the nearness not with dread, but with acceptance. They speak softly. They comfort those who remain. They pass with peace upon their faces. These are the ones who have already reconciled with eternity, whose spirits walk calmly into the light. Understand this: death is rarely without sign, but not all signs are meant for the one departing. Sometimes the signs are for those left behind. A final conversation, a sudden visit, a rare smile, a gift, a strange request. Only later do you realize it was their farewell. You did not know the countdown was seconds away, but their soul did, and it tried to leave you with something,
however small, to remember. So, if you ever wonder why some speak in riddles at the end, if you ever wonder why a dying loved one looks past you, smiling at someone unseen, if you ever wonder why the air feels different in those final moments, it is because the veil is opening, and the soul standing at the edge is already stepping 1 foot into forever.
And now I will take you to the very instant, the moment the countdown reaches its final strike, the second the unseen clock of eternity chimes its last beat, the moment you call death. You imagine it as silence, as a heart ceasing, as breath stopping. But in truth, it is more than silence. It is transition. It is separation. It is unveiling. When the number falls to 0, something within you loosens. At first, it feels like a deep exhale, as though all tension, all weight, all burden you carried suddenly lifts from your chest. The body begins to fail, but the soul begins to rise. Your ears hear no sound, but your spirit hears a resonance, like a bell struck beyond human pitch. Your eyes see no more of the world, but your spirit sees light or shadow, depending on what you have lived. In that very moment, the soul and body wrestle. The body clings, unwilling to release. The soul pulls upward, yearning to depart. And then there is a snap. The invisible cord that tied you to flesh loosens. You are no longer contained within bone and skin. You hover, you stand, you awaken to the truth that you are more than what you thought. For some, this separation is gentle. They feel lifted, weightless, as if carried in arms unseen. For others, it is violent. They feel torn, pulled, dragged by forces they cannot understand. This difference is not by accident. It is shaped by the choices of a lifetime, by the condition of the heart, by the alignment of the soul with light or with shadow. And then comes what many do not know, the unseen battle. For the instant the soul steps out, both sides take notice. The angels of light draw near, radiant and calm, their presence bringing peace, but also the spirits of darkness gather, hungry, whispering, reaching with claws unseen. A struggle begins, silent to human eyes, thunderous in the spirit realm. I, Michael, have fought in these moments. I have drawn my sword between shadows that sought to claim what was not theirs. I have watched souls slip into safety, and I have mourned as others were dragged into darkness. What decides this battle? It is not wealth, not beauty, not power. It is the mark upon the soul. Those who bore love, who sought truth, who clung to the divine even in weakness, light claims them, and darkness cannot hold what the soul rejected. To the living, it looks like only stillness, a body lying silent, but to the spirit, it is storm and fire, angels and shadows, the fate of eternity being sealed in moments unseen. and then peace. When the battle ends, the path clears. The soul is either carried upward, weightless and free, escorted by light into realms beyond your imagination, or it is swallowed downward, dragged into silence deeper than night. This is the truth of the moment you call death. Not merely a heart that stops, but a destiny revealed.
Now listen closely, for what I will reveal next is not spoken often, yet it is witnessed by countless souls in their final passage. The moment the soul separates, it is like stepping into a silence that is alive. Not empty silence, but a silence filled with presence. The first sensation is lightness. You realize you are no longer bound by gravity, no longer held down by flesh, no longer aching with pain or age. You stand, yet you have no feet. You see, yet you have no eyes. You exist, fully awake, more alive than you ever were in your body. And then something begins to form ahead of you. It is like a corridor, stretching endlessly, woven of light, pulsing with warmth. Some call it a tunnel. Others call it a passage, but in truth, it is a path crafted by eternity itself, guiding you toward what comes next. The tunnel is not empty. It is filled with whispers, voices, songs. Some voices call your name softly, tenderly, like family waiting at a station long prepared. You hear laughter of those you once lost. You hear prayers of the living still reaching for you even as you walk away. And sometimes you hear music not of this earth, pure, echoing, filled with beauty so fierce it shakes your soul. As you step forward, every memory of your life begins to flash, not in confusion, but in clarity. Moments you thought forgotten rise before you like pages of a book turning. But you do not only see them, you feel them. You feel the weight of words spoken, the echo of choices made, the ripple each action left behind. Here there is no hiding, no pretending. The soul stands naked before the truth of its own story. For some, the tunnel is filled with light so gentle that every fear melts away. It draws them, comforts them, wraps them in peace. They run toward it, laughing, crying, free at last. For others, the tunnel is shadowed. It flickers, it dims, it resists. The voices they hear are not songs of welcome, but whispers of regret, echoes of guilt, faces of those they harmed. They stumble, they resist, they fear what lies ahead, because they know their own soul is heavy with chains of its making. Yet, whether in joy or in dread, the tunnel always pulls forward. It is not a place to linger, but a passage to judgment. And the voices, oh, the voices! Some call with love, like parents to a child returning home. Others call with sorrow, warning,
pleading for the soul to remember what it once knew. And still others, darker, mock, lure, tempt, trying to snatch the soul as it walks. This is the journey no one can escape. The tunnel is the bridge between time and eternity. It reveals, it strips, it prepares. And as you walk it, whether surrounded by warmth or shadow, you know the countdown has ended. But what awaits at the end of the tunnel? That is only the beginning.
Now, child of time, I will show you what lies at the very end of the tunnel, the place where no mask survives, no excuse holds, no lie can breathe. The soul reaches the end, and the path opens like a curtain being torn away. What was narrow becomes vast. What was dim becomes radiant. What was hidden becomes revealed. Here, every soul, great or small, rich or poor, forgotten or remembered, stands before the throne of the Eternal. A throne not carved of wood or stone, but of light so fierce it blinds every shadow. It is not a chair, but a presence, a reality so powerful that the soul trembles, because it knows at last who truly reigns. Before this throne, there are no titles, no crowns, no possessions, no achievements to display, only the soul itself unclothed in truth. And then begins the unveiling, not a trial of lawyers and judges, but the revealing of the soul's own record. Every thought, every secret, every kindness, every cruelty, written not on paper, but on the very fibers of the spirit itself. For the soul is the book, and eternity is the reader. Here some souls shine. Their light is not perfection, but the reflection of mercy they embraced, the love they carried, the faith they did not abandon. And when the Eternal looks upon them, the light within them answers the light before them. These are welcomed. These are carried into realms of rest, where sorrow cannot follow, where joy is endless. But others stand heavy with shadows, their hearts weighed down by cruelty, their spirit marked by pride, their record filled with rejection of every whisper of truth. And when the Eternal looks upon them, the darkness within them recoils from the light. These are not forced, they are revealed. Their own soul bears witness against them. And they descend not by chains of iron, but by the weight of what they chose to carry. This, then, is the great unveiling, not that you are judged by strangers, but that your very being testifies what you became. I, Michael, have stood beside this unveiling. I have seen souls run into light as children into their father's arms, and I have seen others shrink back, unable to face what burns in their own reflection. This moment, this throne, is the end of the countdown. It is the closing of time's book. It is the last unveiling before the eternal beginning. Now, beloved soul, hear me, for I, Michael, speak not to frighten you, but to awaken you. The countdown is not written on clocks you can see. It is not whispered by doctors, nor revealed by calendars. It moves in silence. It ticks in secret. It draws closer with every breath you take, and yet you do not know the number that remains. Some believe they have years, some believe they have days, yet the truth is this: no man knows his hour, no woman can bargain for one more moment. The breath you draw now is already a gift, and the next one is not promised. So I ask you, when your countdown reaches its final zero, will you step into light or into shadow? Will you run toward the arms of mercy, or will you fall beneath the weight of your own choices? Do not wait until the tunnel opens before you. Do not wait until your soul is stripped of excuses, for then it will be too late to change what you have written upon your own spirit. Prepare now, live with truth now, love with sincerity now. Forgive, repent, turn, awaken now. For the unseen countdown is already moving, and eternity waits for no one. I, Michael, have spoken, and I tell you this with all the power of heaven behind me. You were created for light. Do not choose darkness. You were created for eternity. Do not waste it for shadows of dust. The countdown will end. The unveiling will come. And when it does, may you be found ready.